Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Esports with Emrick. It's just me tonight, Chris Emrick, white tee, variety of different things. Hope you all had a really good LCS slate. Saturday, Sunday, this was pretty interesting on all accords yesterday with the LCS having a tremendous amount of upsets, unforeseen results, and then going into the LPL, LCK slate that had a whole slew of other issues, not excluding the weather. I was there I thought I was going to luck out. I thought I was going to take advantage of another slate where some teams didn't play and, take a second. But somehow, some way, Bro actually did what I said they were going to do, and that was take a game off the HLE and then just completely collapse in game 3. Allowed a train to go ahead and overtake me. Nevertheless, no big deal. It looks like, DraftKings is going to go ahead and refund some of those entries. But look, because of that typhoon, because of that weather, we don't have any DFS going on the next couple of days. So if you've got this itch and you want to sweat some DFS and you want to do it in the middle of the day, there is no better way to do it than to do it with the Euro regional leagues. We're getting into U Masters. It's a good time to pay attention. It's a good time to watch these games. Certainly, if you're not bilingual, you're not going to understand the casting, but that's okay. Throw it on mute, put some good tunes on. Just take it from there. Let's get into the first one. The first league that I've watched quite a bit is going to be the Prime League. The Prime League is out of Germany. It is home of, just got to give me a second here. It is home of who I thought was going to win the spring edition in Big. But we've got a couple other teams that are really interesting here. So Big's playing against Iwi, and this matchup is not one that I'm really looking to target. So this is probably not the first spot that we're going to make any type of wagers. Look, Big stumbled towards the end of the year. They lost a couple of games as heavy favorites. They're not as good or strong as they were in spring. But Iwi, had a stretch. They had a stretch in the middle of the year where they were super strong. They beat a lot of good teams, but they kind of fell apart and they lost to a lot of lesser competition towards the end of the year. So I was really hoping that I was going to get a situation where we were going to be able to bet them as a favorite or not this big of a dog. Look, I like betting the dogs, but plus 375. I just don't see that there's any way that they're going to take a 3 out of 2 against 3 out of 5. Sorry. They're not going to take 3 out of 5 against Big. I don't even think that they're going to take 2 games. I think you can argue that they probably maybe take 1. But even then, you're not getting that type of result. I think you'd have to go in and take a look here. Maybe get a 2-1 bet. I think that's probably where I would go if I was going to bet something on this one. Again, I fully expect a big sweep. I think you can pretty confidently go ahead and bet the -1.5 at -150 if that's what you want to do. It's someplace that I'm probably not going to go. Moving forward, we have the game that I'm kind of interested in on at least in regards to this league. It's going to be SK Gaming Prime and then Gamer Legion. So look, Gamer Legion, if you're in the top or in the, not the top esports, the esports department Discord, it's the same abbreviation. I had a couple drinks tonight. Give me a break. That's why I'm wearing the hat, right? If you're looking at that, you'll know that one of the things that I've looked at in terms of Gamer Legion is that this team plays some really weird comps, and we don't need to go too far to take a look at that. Let's go ahead and just take a look and see what this team plays. It's a volatile situation. Let's go into their match history here. Let's see. So, you can see their picks here. We're talking from an ADP, from the ADC position, we've got Xerath, Ziggs, Soraka. We've got a bunch of games where we've got Seraphine. So you can see this team is really non-conventional in terms of the way that they play the game, and I think that just really leads to some really wonky results. Even though in a lot of cases you think that they're better, the statistics show that they're better. They lose some of these games against teams like the Unicorns of Love here, who were a really bad team throughout the summer split. They lost to SL4 here, another team that, while they were good in spring, had a really rough time of it in summer. And these were not games that they should have lost. But in the same regard, they beat Big, they beat Maus, they beat some of these better teams. And the general rule of thumb for me was, when it came to this team, just take the underdog, whether it was them, whether it was the other side of it, and from there, that worked out really well for me. But in this situation here, I like SK Gaming Prime. I think that they played really well throughout the season. They had a little bit of a hiccup as they switched their supports when Lip got called up into the LEC. And we can kind of take a look at what their match history was here. And see, this is kind of where that happened right here. So Lillup gets called up right here. He's playing double duty for a couple of those games, gets called up. They lose to SO4, who had a better start to the end of this, or a better end to the season than they did start. They lost to Maus and they lost to Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love just really came on towards the end of the season, but they ended it strong, beat Wave. I'm not super 100% all the way confident in this bet, but I just like taking the odds against Gamer Legion. That's the way that we've done it all year, all split. Let's just continue with it. So, like them +1.5 right here. Probably not where I'm going to put the wager. I'm going to put about 1 unit here on them to win at -110. So that's going to kind of wrap it up for the Prime League. We do have their playoffs going on. This is going to be something to watch. I think some of these games are going to be super interesting, and paying attention to this league is going to pay attention to one of the teams or possibly two of the teams that are going to be front runners in that EU Masters Summer Tournament that's coming up not too long from now. Moving on, let's go into the Super League. So this is Spain League. This is, as we jump into this one, I think they're in their last week right here. You can see that we have G2 Arctic has had a super, super strong split. Movie Star Riders, Mad Lions, UCAM, CRB, all the teams that are kind of the ones that you'd expect. Some of these are premier names, at least from the EU Master scene. I don't really like any of the wagers for this. I think they're all pretty close. I haven't had a tremendous amount of success betting Super League this year. This is probably, okay. So find that they're in their own league. All right, so you can see a couple of these. CRB versus BCN. BCN has not been good. They got off to a decent start, but just kind of fell flat. This isn't a team of premier players. They came from another league. It was VZZ and the other guys from the Serbian league came over when their team disbanded. Just didn't really have the same type of success here. So, I'm skipping all these bets. E-Monkeys was the worst team in the league. Movie Star Riders, second or third. If you're looking for a game, especially tomorrow, that you want to watch, that's going to be good, that you can kind of put a wager on, and it could go one way or the other, is really kind of this Mad Lions G2 Arctic. I think I put a small wager on Mad Lions. G2, if you remember, really had a terrible showing at EU Spring. After a fantastic spring split, good playoffs, they kind of fell short, but they still made it into the tournament based off qualifying from the regular season. They've been fantastic this year. Didn't really have the hangover that some of the other teams did, and I think they're like 12-4 going into this last week. So I think it's a team to watch, pay attention to, because as they go into this, qualifying, and when they get into EU Masters, which I'm confident that they will if they haven't already, this is a team that people are going to sleep on. They're not going to play. You're going to get lower ownership, especially in DFS when it comes to the EU Masters tournaments, just based off of that recency bias from summer. So just, pay attention to it, get acquainted to this team, and maybe you'll learn that you actually want to bet them, that you actually want to play them. If not, that's okay. Kind of moving on. The LFL, where Carmine Corp came from, the lines are not fully posted. They play on Wednesday, so we're going to skip over them. But kind of the play of the week is going to come from the Polish league, the Ultra League. This is the spot right here. So my favorite play right here is Team Eska Gaming versus PDW. You can see they are huge underdogs. This is the type of line that I absolutely love trying to hammer. Now, look, you don't just want to blindly bet dogs. I mean, you'd probably do all right if you did, but look, you're looking at a plus 185, plus 1.5. You would probably think that PDW was this, standout team. But when we look at the regular season, you can see the Team Esca right here, 11-3, PDW 8-6. When they played each other, it did not go in PDW's favor. This was a, Team Esca, both of those games, they were sweeps. So why are they favored, you'd say? Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. When we look at these stats, the GDM from PDW, significantly better. Your gold per minute is better. And as a team with a worse record, you don't like to see that necessarily. When we look at first blood, yeah, it's better for PDW. When we look at Dragon, it's about the same. First turret, 64 versus 50. And that gold difference at 15. So look, here's the thing. I get it. Now that I've showed you these stats, you kind of understand why they are, where they are. And if you don't want to bet it, that's totally okay. But this is the type of line that I look at as teams that I think are pretty equal, or at least have a really good chance of winning, better than what their odds are kind of determining them to be. And in this case, I think that the Team Esca Gaming has a very real possibility of winning this game and sweeping the series. So when you watch the Ultra League, they're a little bit different than, a lot of the other leagues. One of the things that you can kind of just look at here is Esca, for example, is very similar to Luminar in the spring split and even in the summer split, where this is a team that likes to scale. A 34-minute game time is not something that you're going to see very often from teams that, are winning in this early game. This isn't something that they want to do. This is just all by design. They feel comfortable in that end game. They'll go ahead and coin flip a Baron and then coin flip an Elder and hope that it works in their favor. And it has for a large part. So a good team fighting team, a team that feels comfortable playing from behind, allows themselves to get behind and just kind of picks those slots. And look, at plus 185, I love it. I'm putting 2 units on that. That's probably my favorite play. I'm going to also play the plus 1.5. Even if they don't take this series, I do think that this goes 5 games. So a couple bets that you can make here is going to be that plus 185. You got the plus 1.5 at minus 120. And then, why not throw the over 4.5 plus 185? So kind of wraps up my positions here. You do have the other game that's going to be on Wednesday. It's going to be Kick versus Illuminar. A lot of people like Kick. They've been ever present in the EU Masters. The last 2 years as the explosion of esports happened, and so it's something that you want to bet. But this isn't the same team that blew up in summer. This isn't the same team that we saw in. I should say actually blew up in spring and then into summer. This is closer to what we saw from the team in spring. There's still been some shifts. There's some changes. They had a couple of good games. They beat Rogue towards the end of the year, but minus 650, I don't want any part of it. I think you can take a position over on Luminar plus 400. They're good enough that they could possibly win this series. I've seen Kick throw so many leads late. They're one of the teams in that Ultra League that is a little bit better in the early game. They have a harder time playing as the game gets longer, and that can be kind of evident here. While they're 32, we're 33. So I mean, I guess those numbers don't really show it, but when we look at their overall record, 8-6. Versus Luminar 7-7. Sure, go ahead, take it. I think Kick wins this series. I'm not interested in placing a bet, but look, if you wanted to take Illuminar as a dog, go right ahead. Let's take a look at a couple other games here. We're going to continue to talk about some of these games leading into and these leagues leading into the EU Masters, just so we have an advantage betting, so we have an advantage playing DFS. But a couple of these leagues play later in the week and haven't set even their game times, nor have they set the line. So the NLC, which is the home of Tricked Esports, which was last week's bet of the week that everybody was following, and it was a fantastic sweat because it shouldn't have gone their way, but it did. It absolutely did. We'll talk about that league maybe next week or later on this week. Nothing set. Same thing for PG Nationals, the Italy League. They are in playoffs. There's no bets, just kind of we'll talk about them a little bit more. Let's see here. We do have the EBL, which is the league out of Serbia. They're in the last week of the regular season. Things are pretty set. Let's see if I can go ahead and pull this up. This one. All right, so last week of the regular season, the only one that's kind of interesting to me, just a lot of these look like very accurate lines. This is kind of the best team in the league. This is close to the worst team in the league. Both of these teams, I think, have a combined 1 win. So you're just kind of coin flipping. Somebody's got to win. But it's going to be this game right here. It's the first game tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're looking at, Valence Gaming versus Nexus Gaming. Nexus is plus 250. I don't know. They were plus 230 earlier. So this line is moving in that direction. But, look, Valence has not been dominant. They are the better team. They have the better record. They're locked in the playoffs. Nexus is a team that is competing for playoffs, kind of that last spot. They're not very good. They've got no wins against the top half of the league. All of their wins came against the lower half of the league. So I don't know. Just this line seems like a lot. Let's go ahead and take a half unit play at plus 250. Hoping that something happens. This is a best of 1, of course. This isn't going to be a best of 3 or a best of 5. So anything can happen. This could be that game. Valence really doesn't have anything to play for. They don't care win, lose, or draw. So let's take Nexus at plus 250 there. Moving on, we've got the GLL League. They're in the finals, but no line is posted. So it's going to be that Anthosis Famagusta that we saw in EU Spring playing Team Phantasma. Just off the top of my head, I don't know what the line is going to be, but I would think that Famagusta is going to be the favorite team. They should be. Had a pretty dominant regular season. I think they finished second. The team that finished first ended up getting knocked off in the playoffs, I think, by Phantasma. So this is just kind of take a look at what the line is. Anything, I don't know, probably anything under minus 150 is probably bettable. Let's see. I think we have one other bet that we're looking at. Let's see. Let me pull this up here. Yes. Okay. This is it. So we're in the Dutch league here. We're looking at it. And look, I'm not one to say that I've followed some of these lower ERL, the smaller leagues, as closely as I have with the Prime League or the Super League or the Ultra League. But, this one just kind of jumped out at me. When you're taking a look at Team Echo Zulu here, they're still a playoff team at the end of the day. Plus 550, plus 2.5, minus 135. Throw a half unit on both of these things. Again, I don't think that there's a canyon between these two teams. PSV was the best team in the regular season. The stats indicate that they should win this game, but anything can happen, especially in these series. You see teams that kind of step out of their regular season mold and make a run, especially towards EU Masters. It happens every single year. These teams get into the play-ins, they get into the full tournament, and then they, of course, lose there because the level of competition does step up. But at the end of the day, Echo Zulu is playing PSV. They're both in this Dutch league. There's not that big of a difference between them. I'm going to go ahead and take just, half a unit on the plus 550, half a unit on this plus 2.5, and, hope and pray, because that's what we do here. We bet the dogs. You may have noticed that's essentially where I'm looking at is plus money options. And that's just because there is a tremendous amount of variance in these leagues. And as a result, I just want to get the plus money on these teams because there are going to be situations where the team that you think is better, just look at the LCS today, look at the LCS yesterday, look at the LCS all year long, look at the LEC all year long. The better team doesn't always win. Our perception of who the better team is not always accurate. The stats in this meta don't mean as much as they might have in years past. And, play on the side of variance. You don't have to be right as often if you're betting plus 550. It's just the case. So that's all I got. I mean, I don't see any comments in the chat. real short episode. We'll talk a little bit more about these ERLs as time goes on and as the week goes on, and we'll find some other bets. So, hey, thank you for joining me. This has been an episode of Esports with Emrick, episode number 1 for the ERLs. I'll talk to you later.